We're continuing our theme of unboxings that don't actually involve boxes this week. Last week we did an unbagging. This week we've got an unpouching. 4 new releases from PSC's Mortem Gloriam tie-in, their 15mm Ancients range. First up, we'll take a look at the early Roman Scorpios. They come in an interesting packaging style. It's the sort of thing you usually get your Lucky Dip type toys in. And I've avoided peeking, but there is a little window in the front of the bag as well. Alright, so there's 2 different frames in here. One's going to be used to build the Scorpio itself. It's got just 2 parts on there. And the other's the crew. So that'll make 2 Scorpio of a crew in all. Looking at the details, the bolts in there on the Scorpio, there's parts of the winding mechanism at the back. Some thin parts too, so that's really cool. The crew is a duo, and you've got one cranking the windlass. And then there's the other in that traditional, like, fire over there, right where I'm pointing at pose, which is important, almost as important as I'm a commander, I've got a foot raised on a rock. They cost £6 for this pack, which is about $8 US. So that works out at like £3 per full model, which isn't particularly cheap, but they do look good. They're really well defined. The ultracast casting's quite sharp. Little bit bendy as well, which could be a benefit as well as a hindrance. And there's not too bad mold lines. So okay, let's move on. And these are some British skirmishers. They to go in the Gaelic army set, which has the different art on the front of the pouch. There's actually even a "This is not a toy" label on the back there, just in case you're expecting a Lego minifig. And yeah, it looks like there's a lot more models in this pack. 8 cavalry and 16 infantry. Got different horses. It looks like 6 different sculpts in all, so that gives you a lot more horse variety than the actual riders, because there's 4 different variants of those, and that also makes 9 horses with 8 riders, so there'll be a spare horse to play about with. You can maybe make a casualty or something for the basing. 3 frames in here of 4 skirmishers on foot as well, which has got, it looks like just the same frame over and over, so that's 4 variants for those. And these are slingers. At first looked a little bit like a sword just because of the pose of that sling being thrown, but some of them are on the advance, and there's one of them there putting a new stone in the sling to lob at his enemy. The cavalry are just the basic spears and shields. Again, lots of nice little details on these models, and they're just £10 for a pouch, so that's pretty good value. That's about $13 US. Right, so I'll open up another one, and just a little background while I do. These aren't new models. They're actually older sculpts that have been remanufactured and re-released. So these were originally sculpted by Corvus Belli, who make the sci-fi game Infinity. Really, it's their most famous thing now. And those models are very nice for that game, so it's not a real shock that the sculpt quality here is good. Corvus Belli do generally make quite fantastic miniatures, and yeah, there's a lot of rank and file in this one. This is the early Imperial Roman armoured archers. So first up, got some Western archers. It seems like there are more variations, I think, than at first meets the eye. You've got some with the bows drawn, others are reaching for a fresh arrow to notch. The gladius placement at their belts there, it varies around. Different kind of foot spacing, and I think there's some alternate male variants as well. And it looks like we might have an extra model as well. There's meant to be 16 of these, but I think we've got 17. And then moving to the other style of frames, there's some Eastern archers too. Lots of details. There are some mold lines here that are kind of noticeable. They will need some cleanup. That can be a little frustrating with ultracast, so that's something to be aware of, but you're often going to have some element of flash or mold lines to clean up. It's just a little bit more rugged on ultracast, so get a sharp scalpel. And again, you've got some subtle variations. You've also got some nice details in terms of the weapons and the armour. You've got the recursive bow and the more rounded kind of alternate helms. And then there's a crouched guy as well, which is pretty cool. So yeah, 16 of these as well. So that makes for a really valuable kind of proposition. I think that's what, 32 models, and these are £10 for the pack as well. $13, so that's a really good price. Alright, and on to the final one, going back to the Gaelic army and the kind of iconic chariots in here with the crew as well. So this pouch is £8, which is like $10.50. And yeah, you get 2 chariots as well, so not the cheapest, but really good looking models. And they actually are different. There's a variation on the sides, there's a lot of crew options. Mix of horses as well. I think they're the same horses that were in the previous pack we looked at. And yeah, you've got the kind of iconic female charioteer, Boudica type personality for one of your rider options there as well. So yeah, all in all, I think this is really good stuff. I mean, if this is your period, if you're into the Ancients period and you've got a passion for smaller scale, you're probably going to love these, and there's a lot of possibilities as well. Ultracast is maybe a more versatile material than metal when it comes to some conversions. Not played a lot with how the memory of the casting affects it, but potentially you could warm these up and bend them. I don't know if they then bend back. You can maybe put these in cold water once you've heated them up in boiling water and bent them to add even more variety to the poses. And you know, it's pretty snippable material too, so I can almost hear the salivation from Bob Amy, who's had some pretty fantastic 15mm modelling efforts shown off in previous issues of War Games Illustrated and also in some recent Prime articles. He's probably going to be spending a bit of coin on these, I would expect. And yeah, they're simple kits, they go together well. If this is your thing, these are a very good example of it.
This video has been brought to you by WI Prime, War Games Illustrated Magazine's online members club. View more videos or find out more about WI Prime by following these links.